ABC News exclusive. The officer from Ferguson, Missouri, who will not be charged in the shooting death of Michael Brown, speaking out for the first time. Daren Wilson with our George Stephanopoulos today, revealing what he says happened while in that patrol car, the struggle. He describes the moment he first pulls the trigger and then what he says plays out when he gets out of that car. A country watched what played out overnight in Ferguson, buildings, cars set on fire. And today, the aftermath. The charred cars, some of the buildings, piles of ash. And tonight, a nation now hears from the officer at the center of this case. Let's get right to George, who's just back from Ferguson tonight. And George, you were telling me you sat down with him for an hour and a half, nothing off the table here.
He answered every question, and we went step by step through those fateful moments on August 9th. He said he saw Michael Brown walking down the middle of the street on the yellow line. He asked him to move over. Brown didn't, so the officer pulled his car beside him. This is what happened next.
I'd gone to open the door and get out of the car. And when I did so, as I was opening the door, I said, "Hey, come here for a minute." And that's when he turned and said, "What the are you going to do about it?" and slammed my door shut on me.
Slam the door shut?
Yes. I used my door to try and push him back and yell at him to get back. And again, he just pushed the door shut and just stares at me. And as I look back at him, all of a sudden, punches start flying.
He threw the first punch?
Yes. He threw the first one and hit me in the left side of my face.
Because, you know, some of the witnesses have said that they saw you trying to pull him into the car.
That would be against every training ever taught to any law enforcement officer. I don't know what or how many hit me after that. I just know there was a barrage of swinging and grabbing and pulling for about 10 seconds.
And then what?
I had reached out my window with my right hand to grab onto his forearm because I was going to try and move him back and get out of the car to where I'm no longer trapped. And when I felt it, I just felt the immense power that he had. I mean, the way I've described it is it was like a 5-year-old holding on to Hulk Hogan. That's just how big this man was.
Hulk Hogan?
He was very large. Very powerful man.
You're a pretty big guy.
Yeah, I'm above average.
So you try to grab him, but you feel that force.
Yes. And then as I'm holding him, I see him coming back around with his left hand, and it's in the shape like this, and it comes in through the window and just a solid punch to the right side of my face.
So you're still sitting there figuring out, how do I get out of this?
Yes. I mean, the next thing was, how do I survive? Because I didn't know
how
if
do you survive?
Yes, I didn't know if I'd be able to withstand another hit like that.
Where's your gun at that point?
I keep it on my right hip.
Mm-hmm.
I take it out and I come up, I point it at him. And when I said, "Get back or I'm going to shoot you." And then his response, immediately, he grabbed the top of my gun. And when he grabbed it, he said, "You're too much of a to shoot me." And while he's doing that, I can feel his hand trying to come over my hand and get inside the trigger guard and try and shoot me with my own gun. And that's when I pulled the trigger for the first time.
What happened?
It didn't go off. The gun was actually being jammed by his hand on top of the firearm. So I tried again, and again another click. And this time I'm like, this has to work, otherwise I'm going to be dead. He's going to get this gun away from me. Something's going to happen, and I'm going to be dead. So I pull a third time, and it finally goes off.
That was the first time you'd ever used your gun, right?
Yes, it was.
In all your years as a police officer?
Yes.
And then what happens?
He gets even angrier. His aggression, his face, the intensity just increases. And he comes back in at me again. I wasn't looking at him. I was just like, racket, expecting another hit, and I put my gun up and fired. Then I go to exit my car. And when I'm getting out, I use my walkie and I say, "Shots fired, send more cars." And I start chasing after Michael Brown.
Why not stay in the car? He's running away.
Because he's not, my job isn't to just sit and wait. You know, I have to see where this guy goes.
So you felt it was your duty to give chase?
Yes, it was. That's what we were trained to do.
And he runs out of the car, gets about 30 or 40 feet. You can now get out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
You start to follow him. And then he stops?
He does stop.
Why?
When he stopped, he turned and faced me. And as he does that, his right hand immediately goes into his waistband, and his left hand is a fist at his side, and he starts charging me.
What did you think when you saw that?
I didn't know. I mean, my initial thought was, is there a weapon in there?
Even though he hadn't pulled something out earlier when he was confronting you?
It was still just the unknown. And again, we're taught to let me see your hands.
As you know, some of the eyewitnesses have said, at that moment when he turned around and put his hands up.
That would be incorrect.
No way?
No way.
So you say he starts to run, does a stutter step, starts to come towards you,
Mm-hmm.
and?
At that time, I gave myself another mental check. Can I shoot this guy? Legally, can I? And the question I answered myself was, I have to. If I don't, he will kill me if he gets to me.
Even though he's, 35, 40 feet away?
Once he's coming that direction, if he hasn't stopped yet, when's he going to stop? After he's coming at me and I decide to shoot, I fired a series of shots. and paused.
What did you see?
I noticed at least one of them hit him. I don't know where, but I saw his body kind of just flinch a little. And after that, I paused and I again yelled, stop, get on the ground, giving him the opportunity to stop. And he ignored all the commands and he just kept running. And so after he kept running again, I shot another series of shots. And at least one of those hit him because I saw the flinch. Well, this time he's about 15 feet away. So I start backpedaling because he's just getting too close and he's still not stopping. He gets to about 8 to 10 feet, and as he does that, he kind of starts to lean forward like he's going to tackle me. And I looked down my barrel of my gun and I fired, and what I saw was his head, and that's where it went.
Right in the top of his head?
Yes.
You'd never even shot your gun before, and now a man is dead.
Mm-hmm. After the supervisor got there, I gave him the brief rundown of what had happened.
What'd you tell him?
I told him that I had to shoot somebody. And he asked me why. I said, well, he had grabbed my gun and he had charged me and he was going to kill me.
So you killed him first?
Yes.
Is there anything you could have done differently that would have prevented that killing from taking place?
No.
Nothing?
No.
And you're absolutely convinced, when you look through your heart and your mind, that if Michael Brown were white, this would have gone down in exactly the same way?
Yes.
No question?
No question. You
and your wife, I don't even know if this word is appropriate anymore. What is your dream going forward?
Like I said, we just want to have a normal life. That's it.
I guess it's hard to have a normal life after someone is lying dead.
Mm-hmm.
Something you think that will always haunt you?
I don't think it's a haunting. It's always going to be something that happened.
You have a very clean conscience.
The reason I have a clean conscience is because I know I did my job right.
In fact, he said it was the first time he shot his gun. And George, did he have a message for the family of Michael Brown?
He spoke to them directly. He said, I'm sorry that their son lost his life. He knows there's nothing he can say that's going to make them feel better. But he also said again and again and again, you saw that right there, there's nothing he says he would do differently right now.
All right, George Stephanopoulos leading us off. George, thank you. And George will have much more tonight on Nightline and tomorrow morning on Good Morning America.